Hello, everyone, and welcome to part two. Who's up for round two? There have been some good moments so far. I'll get into that later. No, actually, I'll talk about it right now. Like reading these stories and talking about past. These characters have gone through things, and seeing that I'm not alone in going through things and just hearing about people's past relationships has been very interesting. There have been so many good one liners, like inspirational one liners. And so I've really liked reading those. And I don't know, there's something about contemporary fiction, even like romance, that you don't really see in dystopian or suspense or historical, like people going through real life things and learning about it. And it's a little bit different because these are fictional characters, but they feel real. So I am enjoying that part. I have been, it's been hard to find ones that I want to read or are appealing. The rom com type humor is not really my type of humor, I've been realizing. But if you have not seen part one, you have to see part one first and then see part two. This is the second half of the month of May. It is May 22nd, and I have finished Mind the Gap. Or I finished it before, but like after the second update before today, I finished Mind the Gap by Aaron Mangum, and I don't really have much else to say besides what I've said before. Um, like I love the grandma; she's really funny. The ending, I liked the ending. I thought it was really cute. I thought it was such a cute ending, so I liked the ending. Um, I did not feel connected to this book, and I was bored. However, I really liked the way that the romance was done. Yes, they fell in love in I don't know, they found out they liked each other in 2 to 3 weeks, maybe sooner. But so it was quick, but it was very, very intentional and like an emotional connection, not like, oh yeah, I saw his muscles. And so I feel like I've read so much of that this month, of like the muscles, or the just like, wow, he's so hot. I don't know, stuff like that. And so I really liked the intentionality in this book. And there's faith too. I thought the faith was done well. There are Bible verses too, and I gave it a 3.5. I didn't really have any criticisms. The only thing is I just didn't feel connected to it, and I was bored. But there's a lot of London in it. If you like to travel, you might like this book. There's a lot of London experiences, London history in this book. I would say that's mainly what it was. Um, yeah. And then I finished another book. I finished The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley. Oh, I want to mention, I don't know if I said this yet or not in the previous video, I don't remember, but I found out about Mind the Gap, by Aaron Mangum, by Lucy and Allie. Lucy is the main one. She's been yapping about this book a lot, saying a bunch of good things. And so I knew that she'd come knocking at my door if I didn't read that book for, a romance video. And then Allie also read the book and also really liked it. And so I was like, well, now I have to read this. So that's how I found out about that book. This book, The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley, is by Courtney Walsh, which I've heard of a lot. Apparently, she's very popular when it comes to clean romance. And I found out about, or I think I found out about this book before, but I got inspired to read this book by Tiffany. So, yeah, she read this book recently and really liked it, and so I'm trying. Well, I tried it out. I finished it. Um, Before I landed on this book, though, I was reading like the first chapters of other romance books, and they were just not appealing to me. Again, the rom-com humor is, I don't think it's, I'm really the, I don't want to say I'm not the audience. It's just is not my type of humor entirely. This book, I have some thoughts. They're somewhere over here. Um the humor, like, there were some funny things in this. Like, I was like, this humor is actually pretty good. I mean, some of it was cringy, but it was creative humor, I'll say. Like, it was good. So while my computer's turning on, I'll just talk about what I remember off the top of my head. Um this book, it wasn't just romance, it was also like learning. It was like doing an experiment, which the experiment was not, well, I'll get into that, but with finding out how you find happiness. Um how what contributes to happiness, and she finds this like magazine with like listed ways of how you can discover happiness, and she decides to try them out. And there's also romance in it too, but it wasn't just fully romance. I think I'm gonna land with a 3.75 for this book. Maybe I'll end up doing 4 stars. I don't know. I think I'm gonna land with a 3.75. um Mind the Gap. I'm looking at my notes from Mind the Gap, and I know people are not gonna like me saying this, but when I first started reading the book, Oliver 100% reminded me of E-Boy from Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. So, except for taller, of course, and not blue. But that's who he was in my head for a long time. Um oh yeah, Isadora was very, very unique. She's a very unique character. I don't think I've ever read a character like her before. And some of the things she did made me cringe. Um, but I did find her entertaining as well. Very, very unique character. I do like unique characters. There was depth to this book as well. It wasn't just the romance, but it was her discovering how to connect with the community she's in and kind of open her eyes to making connections. Um, so I am a math person. That's what I do um, in college. So whenever books mention math, it always stands out to me because I know a lot about it, and so I'm very attuned to when people mention math or science. There is a comment saying that where Isadora says that math is boring, but it makes sense, and it's actually the opposite. Math is fun, and it doesn't make sense. So, um, especially when you go into 4 dimensions and donuts, no, it does not make sense. I have a little bit of a spoiler ish. It's something for towards the end, and I gotta figure out how I want to word this. And I know this is a fiction book, but I don't know, it's something that I just want to mention. It kind of, in a way, brought the book from 4 to 3.75, which I know is picky. This is gonna be super, super picky, but because of I have some knowledge in this, it bothered me a little bit. Um, Skip to this if you don't want to hear some. They're not really spoilers, but they're kind of spoilers. You can skip to that if you are planning on reading this book. So, this is going to be picky, but Isadora does this experiment with trying the different items on this list and seeing if they help like contribute to happiness. First and foremost, this is very subjective. There's no way to measure happiness. There are maybe some symptoms from happiness that you can measure, but Isadora didn't do any of this. I was worried reading this that Isadora would end up publishing this experiment, and she made this comment that this experiment was for personal reasons. I was like, oh, thank goodness. But then towards the end, it seemed like I could have misinterpreted this, that her experiment got published as a report, and in the real world, this never would have happened. It does not follow any standards at all. It's an experiment, so it needs a control group. There is no control group. It needs to be controlled. It is not controlled. It's very subjective. There's no measured outcomes at all. This was an observation journal, and that's fine, but it's not something that gets published. You can write a book about it. I think it would have been a fantastic idea if she would have written a book on this and talked about her experiences. I think that would have been way better than a report. I know this report, what's his name? What's his name? Cal? I feel like I've read so many main characters whose name was Cal. So many. But the male main character, he uses kind of like Isadora's experiment in his paper that he wrote. And everything that you write, if you're using a source to back up your argument, it has to be cited. You cannot cite a personal story of or your friends, what, it has to be an official source. And so, yeah, her experiment was not up to par. Also, it's fine to have one experimental unit, but you cannot represent a population with that at all. In that case, the unit is the population, and that does absolutely nothing. Whatever findings you find, let's say this experiment was controlled and followed standards and all that. If you only have one experimental unit, oh, my throat is getting dry. If you only have one experimental unit, then that is the population, and your findings only relate to that person. It's like saying, hey, when this person drinks 5 cups of water a day, his blood pressure goes down by 5 units, and it's like, well, that's only the case for this person. Who knows what will happen to anyone else? I just got back from work, so I've been talking all day. I don't know if there was really there was no spice, or I wouldn't say there was really steam either, but there are comments throughout this book. And I don't really read rom-coms, so I found they were kind of weird. They were, I don't know if you would maybe call them innuendos. They weren't inappropriate, but there were comments throughout this book that I found to be really weird. And not something I'm used to because I don't read rom-coms. So I guess part of it is I don't I'm not used to that. So I don't know. I found some of the comments weird. Like at the very beginning of the book, she was gonna buy chocolate and she was really looking forward to chocolate, and she said she was gonna have like a one night stand with Reese's. I'm like, what? I love chocolate too. I would not say it like that, but I don't know. But overall, I this was nice. It was fun. It was lighthearted. Definitely different than what I've read before. I do recommend. I will have content warnings down below if you want to look into the books that I talk about. Um, um, so after I read that book, I was looking for other books to read and just nothing was appealing to me. Um, I don't want to read a book knowing that I will probably DNF it. So I was having a hard time, but then I landed upon it's like 150, 160 pages, so it's shorter. This book called Someday Soon. And this book, I was like, okay, this actually sounds cute. So it's by Melissa Tagg. I've heard about this author before, so that's why I was looking at her books. I like to go on Amazon and read the samples of books to kind of get a feel for what a book is like. Um, and I am close to being done with this one. I'll give it another update when I finish. Um, I'm enjoying this one so far. This one it has romance, but also has other aspects to it too, which I'm makes it more like I'm gonna like it because there's other aspects of the book. I am enjoying this one so far. Um, and then I am also. Oh, did I mention I am reading? I am reading So Into You by Kathleen Fuller too, so I'm also reading that one. I'm actually enjoying that one too. So far. I say so far because things can always change. I find that a lot with books that I'll be reading and then something changes. Oh, speaking of, one of the books that I was trying, a romance book I was trying was, I think it was called Shadow Light by Ivy Emerson, I believe, and I DNF'd that one because I was enjoying it actually. I liked it, but then the characters they met like at the beginning of the book, and then they like fell in love and kissed within like 30 or 40 pages. So it was very fast. I don't even know how many days they knew each other. It could have been a few days. It was so fast, and it was one of those things where it's like 0 to 100, and that was didn't like that. I mean, it wasn't like inappropriate, but it was like that. Like it was going slow, and then all of a sudden it went like that. So I DNF that one. I did not like that. Unfortunately, because I wanted to talk about a book that people don't really talk about, and unfortunately I DNF that one. So yeah. So yes, I'm reading that one with reading So Into You with Whitney. And then I'm also reading Anne of Green Gables, and Gilbert just was mentioned for the first time, and I'm so excited. I love Gilbert. Um, I'm really enjoying. Of course, I'm really enjoying Anne of Green Gables. It's such a good book. So, yeah. So I guess there'll be another update. Days, some insert number of days later. Hello, everyone. I have another update for reading. So today I worked all day. I came home, took a shower. Now we're here. I hit my head really hard right before hitting record, and so if my vision goes out, then we'll capture it together. So, um, so I finished Someday Soon. I'm pulling up my notes for it. I don't think I really have. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm developing a headache. That's not a good sign. I I'm pulling up my notes. Alright. So this book, I don't have a lot of thoughts for. It was a shorter book, which I will admit I enjoyed. Someday soon. Oh, I have like no notes for this book at all. I gave this 3.75. I don't know, it's like I enjoyed it there. I really enjoyed the beginning of the book. It was like the whole like damsel in distress type of scene, and then like the guy had to come and kind of save her. I thought that was fun. And then there was also fake dating in it, which was fun. Um, it wasn't just romance, but there were other aspects of this book too, which made me enjoy it more. There was the female main character, um she has this kind of strained relationship with her dad, and so this book is them trying to understand each other and kind of heal this weird relationship they have going. There's also the male main character. Yeah, I don't remember their names. Um if I saw their names, I'd remember them. But he had a best friend who passed away, and so they had a dream, and so in this book he's trying to fulfill that dream of opening up a facility for kids. So I really liked like the man who cares about kids. It's like, you know what, I really like that. I like that trope. So there were things that I did like. Overall, I didn't really find this book like engaging. Like I wasn't like engaged into it, so that's why it was not higher than 3.75. And I got a little bit bored towards the end too. Um that's all I wrote down. It was a shorter book, so it wasn't like, I don't know, I don't really have a lot of like criticisms or like highlights. It was good. But for a shorter book, there was some depth to it too, that I liked. But I liked that it wasn't just the romance, it was also they had their own things that they were going through, and I need to get better at explaining books. If I was explaining the affine cipher, I'd do amazing, but books are a different language. Things were going on, and it was cool. But I didn't really feel engaged. There was nothing wow about it, I'll be honest. I feel like this is gonna be rough, but one thing I realized doing this video is I was like, oh, this would have been like a 4 or almost 5 star if there was less romance. But then I realized, oh, this is a romance book, so literally I can't really say that. So I am also starting a new book because I finished that one, so I'm starting a new one. And I was like, oh, I could start another romance book, but I honestly don't want to, and it's the very end of the month. So I started Spies, Lies, and Alibis by Natalie Walters, because I've been wanting to read this. It's a romantic suspense book, so I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it by the end of May. So I thought I'd just like start it now. I'm honestly tired out from romance, so I'm not going to start a new one. I am doing So Into You by Kathleen Fuller, so that'll be the last one of the month. Wow, I just want to first say it was so much fun reading that book with her. We had a lot of similar opinions on things actually, and just being able to share our thoughts and our experiences was really cool. So how many days ago I finished Someday Soon by Melissa Tagg. I wasn't able to record like right when I finished that book. I had to record my opinions today. But now we're done with the last romance book of the month, which is exciting. Okay. Parts I really liked about this book is how it talked about anxiety. What's her name? Why did I not write down her name? Her name begins with a B. I know. Okay, there's Hunter, and then there's the lady. She. Well, I forgot her. How did I? Brit. Okay, Brit. She struggles with anxiety, and so there are things that I could relate to because I also struggle with anxiety. So I liked how it talked about that. I don't deal with it as severely as Brit does, but I used to deal with it a little bit more, and there were things that she did that I could relate to. I liked how it talked about Hunter's past. There was a lot of talk about like these characters are not perfect. They struggle with their own things, and we see a couple different POVs and different characters, and then you start to see their lives like intertwine, which was really good. So there was towards the end there was a lot of drama, and I definitely ate up the drama. I'm realizing I love drama in books. Things that I didn't like as much was I wish we could have seen Hunter and Brit's friendship a little bit more, a little bit longer. And there were also some like I don't know, I liked seeing how the different people's lives intertwined. That was really cool. The romance itself, I was like, eh. Um, there are also some comments in this book that felt off. I feel like they implied things that shouldn't be in a Christian romance book. So, but that's something that we talked about was the weird little comments in the book that I didn't really like, or we didn't really like. Lesson learned: do not hold secrets. Tell people things up front. I also thought, I don't know if this is a spoiler. Not really. I'm not gonna go into detail. There's this scene. It wasn't like it was weird because she was like there's this really cringy scene where like she was like I thought it was cringy. She was like drawing his face, and then like when after she drew his face, it looked he was making a certain expression, and she was like shocked by it as if she wasn't the one who just drew that picture. And the technique that she was using felt weird to me too. That was a nitpicky thing. There were actually parts of this book that were in this book that weren't in the other books that I read that I enjoyed, like seeing these different people's lives and how they come together and just all the drama that was happening. I really loved that. I gave this a 3.5. If like honestly if little things were like tweaked, like the rating would go up. Like there were just like little things that annoyed me, like the little comments or I don't know the romance. I was like but like honestly this book had like there were things about this book that I did really like. And I was looking at like I think I was looking at Goodreads reviews, and like people were saying like this book is eh. Let me look at the reviews because there was like some other people I'm friends with on Goodreads gave it about the same. Wow, look at us go. I never vote in the majority, so that's so weird for me. But I saw some like reviews saying that this book felt average, and it did, but it also didn't. So I was expecting something that felt would feel like really average, but there was things in this book that weren't average, like just like all the drama and like the ways that people's lives were like mixing together and like the lessons learned. Honestly, like I wouldn't call this book like just like an average read. There were different elements in this book that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to go on a little bit of a roller coaster. So I want to end off talking about what I learned through this experience. One thing that I learned is I'm a little bit scatterbrained. I've done vlogs before, but I have to remember to actually record the clips and keep track of what I'm thinking. And so we learned I'm a little bit scatterbrained and I should not record right after hitting my head. Also, um, I honestly had a hard time. I had a hard time finding books that were interesting to me when it comes to romance or rom-coms because the rom-com humor does not really appeal to me. Um so I had a hard time finding ones that I was actually interested in continuing to read. I would read the first chapters of books. I have KU, so I was able to explore, and then but I'd read the first chapter and be like, this just does not sound good at all. So I struggled with that a little bit. Things that I did like is there were a lot of quotable things, especially I would say like the Isadora Bentley one. I read this one on my phone, and so I was highlighting, doing a lot of highlighting. And so that was fun, and I don't usually really highlight or like mark quotes, but when it comes to these books, they're contemporary, and so there's these characters who have gone through, your stereotypical thing that characters go through. That's very generic, but they go through relatable things like past relationships that did not work out, or like going to the store and realizing, oh, I forgot my money at home. There's like little relatable things that these characters go through because it's contemporary and they're in this world. And even though like these characters, they have flaws, and sometimes they're written as if they're like quirky flaws, which I was like, I don't know, the way that sometimes it's written, it feels like quirky, but still these characters have flaws and they make mistakes, and so it was nice reading that and kind of relating to them in a way, even though they are fictional. I got to relate, and there are quotable things, there are inspirational things. So that's something that I found really nice about contemporary. I might pick up more romance or rom coms in the future. There are some that do sound cute. I'm not planning on doing like a month long thing because that was a struggle for me, but every once in a while I might pick up something like that and try it out and we'll see how I feel. I think it would be great to, one day pick up a romance and it be 4 stars or more. That'd be great. If you guys have recommendations based on what I've said in these videos about what I like and don't like, if you have recommendations for that, let me know. I don't like anything that's like detailed or insta love. I do not like insta love. Um, I'm not saying I don't believe in it. Sometimes it happens, but I'm like, you can't meet someone in 2 days and fall in love. There's no way. Anyway, we're gonna end it there. I've thought about doing like another genre, like maybe reading fairy tales for a month because I've read some fairy tales, but I'm not a fairy tale retelling reader, and so if you guys would like to see that, let me know. Um I think that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. Um if you guys have read these, let me know what you thought. And until next time.